This is how After Effects looks when you start the software, and it is quite similar to Adobe Premiere or other video editing softwares, and as we'll see, it is also quite similar to Photoshop. On the left hand here we have the project bin. That is where you collect all the medias. Medias can be video clips, audio clips, still images. And there are several ways to import media into After Effects, just as in Premiere. You can right-click here and choose Import. You can press Ctrl-I and do Import. You can go up in the menu and choose Import File. And this is very typical both for Adobe Premiere and Adobe After Effects, that there is many ways to doing the same thing. And I will primarily show how to do it not up in the menu, but in the windows. Sometimes I will go up in the menu in these instructional movies. And sometimes I will show the shortcut on the keyboard. But when it comes to After Effects and importing files, there's actually another way to do it. And that is my favorite way to do it. That is simply to go over to the Explorer window of Windows and select the files. Here is a number of video files, and then you drag them and drop them into After Effects like this. And here now in the project bin I have the video files. One thing that is very important now in After Effects is that the files here, as you see, they are still on the hard drive, of course, and when I start to work with these files, they will remain untouched on the hard drive. And if I save this Adobe project here, save as, and just to make it easy, I'll save it on in the same folder as the video files, or I actually have one folder here for the video files, while here I can add my demo project. I call this one. So now I have an After Effects folder where in this one, the demo stuff folder, here is my video clips. And as video clips always are, they are quite big. They are at least a few megabytes in size. But if we look at the After Effects demo file, the actual After Effects file, that one is very small. It is 18 kilobytes. Even though I have imported these video clips. So in this After Effects project that I have now, I have lots of videos already, and they are many megabytes in size, and they can often be many gigabytes. These files are compressed, so they are quite small, but it's not unusual to have raw material that is many gigabytes big. But nonetheless, the actual After Effects project is very small. And when I edit this project, it will remain quite small. And that is because the After Effects project is like a kind of umbrella file, and the actual media is stored outside the file. And that has a couple of important implications. It is a very good idea to have all the files in one place. Like here, I have one folder where I have the media files and the After Effects file. I could have them spread out all over the hard drive, but that would make it more difficult to me to plan the project. Also, the After Effects file is very small, so and that is the only file that is changed. So the After Effects file is the only one that I have to make a backup of, which make it easy to make a backup, because I don't need to back up all the video files every day. Of course I need a proper backup of the video files, but I don't have to make a backup of those every time I've been working with the project. The only project file I need to back up is the After Effects file. And another important thing is that even if I do a lot of stuff with the video files in After Effects, the actual files are not changed, because After Effects add effects to the video files, but they are kind of hooked onto the video files inside After Effects, but without changing the original files. The change happens when I export video from After Effects. So I have my original raw material, and then I remake that in the After file project. And then when I'm done, I export this to a new video file, as we'll see later on. And that means that you can never destroy the video files, at least not inside After Effects. Well, what do we have more in the interface? On the bottom here we have the timeline, and that is where I add my media. And one important thing in After Effects is that I stack things on top of each other. And that makes it very similar to Photoshop, where I have the different layers. And let's see how that can look. In order to do something with these video files here, I need to create a composite. And a composite is a little bit similar to a new file, a new image in Photoshop. But the difference is that in this After Effects file, I can have several composites, while in a Photoshop file, I can only have one image per file. But in this case, in After Effects, I can have several composites. So let's start with one composite. Compositions is up here, and I can select new compositions on top here, or Control N as you see here, or I can right click in the project bin. And before I do that, I think I'll start to make some organization here in the project bin. As you can see here, there's a new folder option, and if I click that one, I'll get a new folder. And I can use these folders to make a good and proper structure in the bin. For example, let's say that all the video files, I want to collect them in one project folder, one folder. Let's call it videos, for example. So we select and drag them into that folder, and then we have that one, and can close the folder. And when you have lots of media in a project, this is very convenient. Okay, now when you have the video assets here, or the video clips out of the way, I can right click and add a new composition. Let's call that one Demo 1, for example. When I create the composite, I have to decide on what kind of video file this is. The size of the image, the height and width, for example, in pixels and so on, and the frames per second, etc. All that you can see in this window here. You can also see that there is some presets. And for example, the PAL is the preset for old-time TV in Europe, the standard definition TV. It's the same as DV, mini DV. That's one option, to use that one. If you don't need the high def format, you shouldn't use it, I think. If, for example, if you want to publish stuff on the internet, then I'm not really sure that you need the high def, but you can make do with the standard definition or some other screen size. But usually I use the old PAL when I do stuff that will be published on YouTube or somewhere else on the internet. But if it is a high def project, a high definition project, HD project, then of course I need to use some of the HD presets here. And if you look, for example, on the HDV here, we have HDV 1080-25. And HD says that means that it is a high def format. The 1080 means that it is the full high def format, 1080 pixels in height of the image. We can compare that with the HD 720 here, and that is the half HD, so to speak, where the image size is 720 pixels in height. You can also see that we have a last number here, the number 25, that's the frames per second. And we have 2997, that is basically the 30 frames per second, and so on. So if you're going to do a HD project, you need to know the screen size and the frames per second. But in this case, I'll make do with the PAL standard, so I select that one. And now we have the width, the height automatically here. Note that the pixel aspect ratio, the shape of the pixels are not perfectly square in PAL. They are actually not squares, they are rectangles. Usually you don't have to care about that, but it can be good to know. And 25 frames per second. Down here we have the duration, and you can of course change this afterwards, but let's say that you know that your video clip will be 1 minute 30 seconds, then you can change that right away. So that here is 0 hours, 1 minute 30 seconds and 0 frames. Not the time code really, the length of the composite. And you can of course change that afterwards. We select OK on that one. And if you look down in the timeline here now, you'll see that we have a composite here, demo 1. We have that one. Let's say that we create a new composite. We call that one demo 02, and we can make that into a high def 1080-25. That's a quite common high def in Sweden. And let's have that one at 130 in duration as well. So now we have two composites here in the project bin, and both of these are opened, and we can use these tabs to switch between the two composites. And we can close them and then open them again. So far the timeline is empty, but we can drag stuff down on the timeline, a clip here. And as you see in this composite window here, the display window, we can actually see the shot. And here over here we can play it.